Today we are going to present the efforts of United States Agency International Development, which is USAID, in SDGs goal number 1, no poverty. Before we start, let me introduce my group members. The first presenter is me, and my name is Qibtiah Bt Armizan. Second is Aziemah Bt Ibrahim. Third is Aqilah Shazirah binti Azlan. Fourth is Syafiqah Naqibah binti Azman. Fifth is Aisyah Qasdeena binti Ahmad Rizaldin. And lastly is batrisyia binti Azman. Somalia has faced a crucial period of transition from decades of state failure. Despite the immense challenges facing the country, Somalia are forging a promising path forward, evident by the country's extraordinary efforts to establish regional states, rebuild institutions, and re-engage with the international community. To capitalize on this unique window of opportunity and Somali-led effort, United States Agency International Development, which is USAID, proposed a 3-year period from 2016 to 2019 to form the Transitional Strategic Framework, which is the strategy for Somalia. This strategy is successfully supporting and implementing the development programs in order to build durable foundation for long-term democracy, stability, and prosperity. Thus, this agency stated that they aim to strengthen the rules for an extra stable, democratic, and wealthy Somalia, which will save life, assuaging human struggling, and lowering the monetary effect of disaster. Somalia's welfare with poverty and lack of confidence has been prolonged and difficult. Nevertheless, United States Agency International Development, which is USAID, application have visible quantifiable improvement. For example, USAID provided access and benefit to alternative basic education to 20,248 students. Even with positive progress, the United Nations, which is UN, expect new problems in Somalia and that more foreign aid will be needed to fully restore the country. Hence, the United States is imparting nearly 199 million in extra humanitarian help for the human beings of Somalia who have confronted a long time of continual meals insecurity, violence, and cycles of drought and flooding, due to the impact of which have all been compounded by desert locusts and the COVID-19 pandemic. This additional funding through the United States Agency, which is US for International Development, USAID, and the United States Department of State, brings up the United States total US humanitarian aid to the Somalia people to more than $408 million for the fiscal year 2021. The United States is the biggest unmarried donor of humanitarian resources in Somalia and for Somalia refugees with inside the region, and welcome efforts via means of the UN to attract interest to the plight of the humans of Somalia. Thus, USAID remains concerned about the continuing increase in humanitarian needs and urge other donors to contribute to the international response and provide the support needed to save lives. By addressing acute needs as well as the root cause of poverty, USAID is strengthening prosperity and safety at the same time as demonstrating American generosity across the world. USAID's applications draw on America's energy in agriculture and produce advantages lower back to Somalia as well. For example, USAID studies investment have helped farmers overseas and with inside the United States guard their harvest from pests and disease.
Next, I will continue with the contributions of USAID in Somalia to prevent poverty. Somalia, known as a poor country that have high rate of poverty. So USAID, which is one of the United States organizations that give many funds, especially to make a development in Somalia to reduce the poverty rate in that country. The contributions that USAID made in Somalia is based on USD strategies and foreign policy objectives in Somalia and East Africa. The contributions of programs that USAID made is including members of the United States government, USD, the federal government of Somalia, FGS, and regional Somalia officials, international donors, Somalia leaders, academics, implementers, partners, and the private sectors and civil society. The first contributions of USAID in Somalia is to prevent poverty, is funds for emergency services and COVID-19. USAID collaborate with UNICEF, give funds that provide $20 million to combat COVID-19 and strange emergency services. USAID also give support to $34.7 million in 2021 in Somalia because of this pandemic. This fund that has been given by USAID is more focusing to give full protections, health and well-being for children and helps the poorest families to get some foods. By getting those funds, it's helped them to at least have basic needs, and it also can reduce the child poverty because this fund not just focus because of the COVID-19 but also for emergency use such as emergency regarding the child's health can reduce the government burden to buy the basic needs and are related with the health. Because of this pandemic, many people in Somalia difficult to do their job in every sector such as social service provision is limited. The humanitarian crisis in Somalia had increased especially during COVID-19 pandemic. This virus has snatched the life of local, the weather and the worst desert locust infestations in years. Because of the humanitarian issues that has been increased during this pandemic had made almost 3 million people and nearly 5.9 million people require humanitarian assistance. Because of that, the poverty rate in Somalia did not reduce, but on the rise of the poverty rate in Somalia. So, USAID, UNICEF and other partners have given at least 484 million people health services, 83 million children with treatment for severe acute malnutrition, and 300 million people with emergency and sustained water, hygiene and sanitation services. Because of the funds that have been given by USAID and UNICEF has helped reduce the poverty rate in Somalia and helped the government to solve the problem by using the funds. The second contributions of USAID in Somalia to prevent poverty is fight for education in Somalia. USAID and UNICEF have funds for education in Somalia because when the children in Somalia get a better education, they can get out of the circles of poverty and can have a better living standard. In 2017, Somalia ranked 165 over 117 countries on the Human Development Index because of the weak education that their government provide. One of the main factors that made Somalia poverty rates did not decrease because majority of children in Somalia did not get an education. It is because mostly they are from a poor family and they become the young labor to earn money to support their family. Furthermore, the main reason why they did not get an education is because of the conflict and the prevalence of child soldier. Before 2010s, all parents that send their children to schools needed to pay the education fee, but because of the poverty rate in Somalia is high, and it's difficult for government to retain all teachers because of the lack of funds to cover up the education facility. Because of the reason, Somalia has the lowest rate of primary schools and secondary schools. One of the organizations of development that focus on education that made by the Somalian government is SIDO, which is Somalia Education and Development Organization. This program helps all peoples in Somalia on how important education is, and it's increased the awareness of people in Somalia on education. Emphasizing the importance of education in Somalia, they try to provide protections rules for all children in Somalia from violence conflicts by providing stable and daily routines for children. It's helped the children in Somalia to have encouraged to become soldiers and make a young generation have an ability to respond to conflict in a non-violent manners. UNICEF Somalia had made at least 5 programs to improve the education system to make sure that all children in the country can get a better education to help them to get out from the poverty. other than that, USAID provide a program called Somalia Youth Learning Initiative (SYLI) to expand the quality of the young teenagers in Somalia and give them an opportunity to continue their studies in secondary education. SYLI also aims to support the young generation in Somalia to become the next leader to lead the country. The program that made by USAID had 333 classrooms as well as 455 other structures including science lab, libraries, and girlfriend space. While for SYL program, they had provided at least 2,100 textbooks and other teaching material in Somalia, we're also training more than 2,231 teachers, improving the education system in Somalia. It's helped their people to come out of poverty and encourage more young people in the country to get an education. The third contribution of USAID in Somalia to prevent poverty is food assistance. USAID provide more support to the UN Food Ads program by providing enough foods in Somalia to get all the nutrition that they need to work and to survive. UN Food Ads program is the program where they transfer all foods that they get from other organizations for Somalia peoples from getting hungry and help the government to reduce the poverty in Somalia. In 2019, USAID Office of Foods for Peace (FPP) provide treatment to 647 million malnourished children in Somalia. These programs helps to reduce and to prevent the child poverty in Somalia because majority of the children in Somalia did not get enough nutrition because of the lack of getting foods. According to the report in December 2020, at least 967,000 children below 5 years old will experience acute malnutrition due to the poverty rate in Somalia, having increased especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. All activities that have related with the food supply or economic activities to get foods also has been affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. USAID Office of Food for Peace (FFP) support the UN World Food Programs and other organizations by providing an adequate food supply or other assistance for all people in Somalia to make sure that they will get enough nutrition. That program is more focusing on poor families that have lost their main income due to the pandemic. There are many types of assistance such as UN World Food Program. They give assistance through cash transfer for food and US in-kind food ads. The analysis that they had made proved that all assistance that USAID made and other organizations has given to help Somalia have prevented worse food security outcome than most areas in the country. USAID Office of Food also support the UN World Food Program by providing funds to prevent and to treat acute malnutrition in Somalia, especially for all children in Somalia. This program getting all attention from other organizations to help Somalia peoples from getting hungers, and at the same time it also helped to reducing the government of Somalia burden to face the problem, especially during this pandemic era. FFP also provide emergency foods and nutrition assistance through markets to prevent and to reduce acute food, especially for a vulnerable populations. All programs that meet under USAID will under organizations such as FFP, UN World Food Programs, and UNICEF help to prevent the poverty issues in Somalia, because by making those programs, the government didn't have to spend a large sums of money to ensure that all people in Somalia have adequate supplies of food. I think that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Next, for the fourth point of contribution of USAID organization, which is strengthen the resilience of agriculture sector. Besides, by strengthening the resilience of the agriculture sector to weather-related shocks and reducing food insecurity among Somalia's most vulnerable population by providing emergency food and nutrition assistance and diversifying both rural and urban livelihoods. USAID helped to build resilient households and communities by supporting disaster risk reduction activities designed to protect and restore livelihood assets and support economic recovery. USAID's organization with humanitarian partners to assist in emergency health, nutrition, water, sanitation and hygiene. USAID provides agricultural production and quality control training to farmers and local agribusinesses in order to increase revenues and local sales. Farmers can test local seed type in tomatoes, onions, sweet and hot peppers, as well as learn improved farming techniques on demonstration farms. This has led to increased yields and a greater variety of produce for the local market, enhancing food security. USAID's economic growth activity, growth employment and livelihoods boosts Somali exports of agricultural, fish and non-pastoral livestock products and increases job opportunities in regions recovering from years of conflict and recent natural disasters. It also provides technical advice to non-pastoral livestock owners and institutions to improve the quality of their animals, which enables higher selling prices. I think that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Next, I will continue with intensifying the race against time to keep people safe. To protect more Somalis and boost vaccine uptake, the Ministry of Health and Human Services, in collaboration with WHO, which means World Health Organization, and the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and other partners, have introduced various strategies. For instance, they deploy special outreach teams of vaccinators to visit different areas in Banadir during the last round of campaign. The same strategy was used in Somaliland. In addition to searching for people with COVID-19 to offer them the right support, community health workers have been trained to explain the benefit vaccination and COVID-19 preventive measures. So far, Somalia has 18,019 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 982 deaths. As of 12 September 2021, of the 408,000 doses of AstraZeneca and 2,000 doses of Sinovac and 302,400 doses of Johnson & Johnson doses received by Somalia either through COVAX directly or through the donation via the COVAX. 342,063 doses, which is 83%, have been administered, with 116,267 Somali have been fully vaccinated. Together, the Ministry of Health and Human Services, state ministries, WHO, UNICEF, and other partners are regularly meeting to monitor vaccine uptake, manage the distribution of and monitor life-saving supplies, and strengthening strategies to interrupt transmission of the disease. Quality education equips children to succeed in life, providing them with life skills to take care of themselves and fulfill their potential. UNICEF is dedicated to ensuring that all girls and boys in Somalia can enjoy their right to a quality education from learning opportunities all the way to secondary school. This means ensuring more girls and boys, including the most disadvantaged children, have an opportunity to attend and learn in school. UNICEF works in local authorities and partners to provide children from nomadic and pastoralists and other out-of-school children an opportunity to go to school. With local authorities and partners, we seek to implement approaches which consider all the way of life of targeted communities. This means applying an adaptable calendar and timetables, providing temporary learning space along migration routes, mobile libraries, and complementary interactive audio instruction. It also includes delivering a specific curriculum for basic education in a fast-track format through a flexible timetable. We also help to mobilize communities to prioritize the education of children, particularly girls, and be fully engaged in their children's education. Quality learning requires a safe environment and qualified and motivated teachers. It also entails that learning outcomes are monitored and feedback into teaching. In Somalia, they, together with partners, support the government in building a strong education system. They also promote innovative solutions to improve quality of education and learning. As part of the work, they help to strengthen the capacity of teachers, providing high-quality teaching and learning materials, and develop key learning and teaching policies, curriculum, and learning assessment. This entails making sure that children in emergencies and on the move are protected and have opportunities to access education either for the first time or to continue learning. They continue to support the Ministry of Education to take ownership over education in emergency programming and integrating displaced communities as part of their education service delivery wherever possible. They also support capacity development of the education authorities at all levels as well as school communities and children to mitigate risk, build resilience to shock and respond to and support the recovery of crisis-affected children, while also addressing the underlying chronic vulnerables. I think that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisyah Qasdeena binti Ahmad Rizaldin, and I will continue with the third and fourth benefits of USAID strategies to prevent poverty. The third benefit is adequate food supply. Somalia is at high risk of illness and death because of starvation since there is no food supply. Hence, USAID collaborates with the aid groups to prevent food poverty in Somalia. The food aid in Somalia provided by USAID in times of disaster helps the affected Somalis to continue to survive. The purpose of food aid made by USAID are to reduce severe malnutrition in Somalis children under the age of 2 and pregnant mothers, to increase household income through agriculture and other initiatives to make a living, and expand the production and productivity in agriculture sector in order to strengthen resilience and reduce the need for food aid in Somalia. Next, the fourth benefit of USAID strategies to prevent poverty is economic growth. Agriculture in Somalia are exposed to a wide range of risks arising from drought. Growth, enterprise, employment, and livelihoods known as GIL is one program by USAID that helps to strengthen the resilience of agriculture in Somalia by boosting the economic growth activity. From GIL, agriculture, fishery, and dairy sectors in Somalia have remained resilient and the output of production keeps increasing. Somalia's connection with international markets is constantly rising. GIL assists Somalia expanding private sector by utilizing the country resources and assets for development growth. Hence, the agriculture sector of Somalia has reached worldwide markets. Besides, from the supervision of GIL, Somali waters host some Africa's richest fishing grounds, and Somali youth are employed to meet market needs in preserving jobs when the COVID-19 crisis began. So, that's all for the benefits of USAID strategies to prevent poverty. We will continue with the next presenter.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Aqilah batrisyia binti Azman. I will continue with suggestion for improvement of the efforts. The first suggestion is gender equality. This is because in Somalia, almost all instructors are male and females have lower literacy and education rates than males in all demographic categories. Women who are educated have around twice as many children as women who are educated. Only a third of women give birth with the assistance of professional attendants, and Somalia maternal mortality rate is roughly double that of its neighboring countries. Most elements of women and girls' life are badly impacted by widespread early marriage and gender-based violence, including as rape, domestic abuse, virtually ubiquitous female genital mutilation. Despite the obstacle mentioned above, the mission acknowledged the potential and strength that exists in Somalia. Somalia also boasts a significantly young population, with over 80% of the population under the age of 35. Somalia adolescents face a lack of educational, training and employment options, as well as being used by criminal organizations and violent extremist groups. Real and pervasive exclusion and discrimination in economic and job possibilities have been identified as possible conflict factors. The first stage is to expand women's yard participants in local government, allowing them to define gender-focused goals in their communities and influence the decision-making, including local budgeting. Working with public and private educational institutions can help them train and retain female instructors, as well as introduce gender-related subjects into the school curriculum, such as combating gender stereotypes and early marriage. When women and adolescents have been provided information as well as the resources to participate in a variety of income-generating activities based on gender-specific market analysis for agricultural and non-agricultural options, they will not be left behind and will be able to generate their own income without relying on the head of their family, such as their husband or father entirely. Support initiatives to improve the judicial system, such as the passing and implementation of the Sexual Offence Bill, which protect women and girls' rights, such as their active participation in the official and informal legal system, and facilitate increased access to justice for women. According to the United States Agency (US) for International Development, youth in Somalia are most affected by poverty and a lack of access to school and other services. The second suggestion for improvement is enable marginalized Somalis to more effectively withstand shock and stresses. The most recent example is a huge climatic shock with quick and deadly consequences. As a result of the calamity, one in every 2 Somalis is facing acute food shortage. However, the displaced 1.6 million Somalis and the loss of approximately 2 billion in livestock and crop 30% of GDP have had a long-term impact. Repeated shock, COVID-19 is the most recent of which coincided with major flood and locust invasion once in a generation, have eroded the impacted population resistance. As a result, household vulnerability to subsequent shock and stress has grown, and the existing timescale for recovery and rebuilding for households has shrunk. The above-mentioned confluence of shock has resulted in the urban IDP crisis. They have also made it harder for women to fulfill fundamental family requirements at home, such as going longer and risking their personal safety to gather food, water, food, and outside the home, where they must generate revenue to assist the meet basic family needs. Through enabling disadvantage to Somalis to tolerate shock and stress more effectively, USAID may design methods that combine both development and humanitarian initiatives to increase the resilience of people, household, communities, and the entire system to shock and stress. Marginalized Somalis will be better prepared to withstand disruption and lead their own development if they have more diversified livelihood alternatives, more social and human capital, stronger government. USAID can work to build or strengthen resilient capacity that prevent new wave or displacement among the rural population and provide more durable solution for large displaced population in urban areas. Essentially, rural households must be prepared to survive future climatic disturbances, while city inhabitants must successfully assimilate into urban culture. To attain this aim, users must create solutions that combine developmental and humanitarian effort to help individuals, families, communities, and whole systems become more resilient to shock and stress. Shock and stress have differing effects on rural and urban societies because they are less reliant on climate-dependent livelihood. Downtowns are better able to absorb climatic shock. Instead, they are more subject to sporadic shocks such as losing a job, and the strain of urban resources vary. Because of the fundamental divergence, they are less reliant on climate-dependent livelihood. Downtowns are better able to absorb climatic shock. I think that's all from me. I will pass the slide for the next presenter. Thank you.
I will continue with a conclusion. As a conclusion, the work of USAID stands as to strengthen the rules for an extra stable, democratic and wealthy Somalia while saving life, assuaging human struggling and lowering the monetary effect of disasters. Thus, USAID organization provides some contribution in Somalia to prevent poverty, such as provide funds for emergency services and COVID-19, fight for education in Somalia, food assistance, and strengthen the resilience of agricultural sector. For the first contribution, USAID collaborated with UNICEF to give funds that provides $20 million to combat COVID-19 and strengthen emergency services. This fund is a new funding that giving to Somalia from USAID. From this new funding brings USAID support to $34.7 million in 2021. Secondly, fight for education in Somalia by doing improve in education in Somalia is one of the ways to reduce the poverty rate in that country. By making that improvement, it helps their people to get a better life. Besides, for the food, USAID provides more support to prevent the poverty issue by giving support to the UN Food Aid Program by providing enough foods to make sure that all people in Somalia can get all the nutrition that they need to work and to survive. Next, by strengthening the resilience of the agriculture sector to weather-related shocks and reducing food insecurity among Somalia's most vulnerable population by providing emergency food and nutrition assistance and diversifying both rural and urban livelihoods. Furthermore, there must have benefits of USAID strategies to prevent poverty in Somalia. For example, intensifying for the race against time to keep people safe, to get a better education, provide an adequate food supply, and preserving the environment. While for the suggestion, improvement of the efforts is enhancing the gender equality, need to expand women youth participation in local government, allowing them to define gender-focused goals in their communities and influence decision-making, including local budgeting. Moreover, enable marginalized Somalis to more effectively withstand shock and stress. Therefore, there are many contributions, benefits, and suggestions from the USAID organization that are all aimed at preventing poverty. I think that's all from our group presentation. Thank you.